Food has always played an essential role in human cultures, not just for sustenance but also for spiritual and ritualistic purposes. In ancient times, certain foods were revered for their symbolic meaning, believed to have divine connections or the power to provide spiritual nourishment. These sacred foods were often used in ceremonies, sacrifices, and offerings to gods. Here are the top 10 foods that were sacred in ancient cultures. 1. Bread, ancient Egypt. In ancient Egypt, bread was more than just a staple food, it was considered a gift from the gods. The Egyptians believed that bread was a symbol of life and sustenance, as well as a connection to their deities. During religious ceremonies, bread was offered to the gods, and pharaohs were often buried with bread to ensure their survival in the afterlife. 2. Corn, Mesoamerican cultures. Corn, or maize, was central to the cultures of ancient Mesoamerica, including the Aztecs and Mayans. It was considered the food of the gods, and was believed to have been created by the gods themselves. Maize was so important that it played a key role in creation myths, and many Mesoamerican rituals involved offerings of corn to deities, ensuring good harvests and the continued prosperity of the people. 3. Olives, ancient Greece. The olive tree was sacred to the ancient Greeks, especially in the city of Athens, where the goddess Athena was said to have gifted the tree to humanity. Olives and olive oil were central to Greek life, used in cooking, religious rituals, and as offerings to gods. The olive branch symbolized peace and was often presented to victors in the Olympic Games. 4. Rice, ancient India. In ancient India, rice was considered a sacred food, closely tied to religious rituals and festivals. It symbolized life and prosperity, and offerings of rice were made to various deities, including the goddess Annapurna, the goddess of food and nourishment. Rice was also used in Hindu marriage ceremonies, where it was thrown as a symbol of fertility and prosperity. 5. Honey, ancient Egypt and Greece. Honey was revered in both ancient Egypt and Greece, seen as a gift from the gods. In Egypt, honey was used in religious offerings to the gods and was thought to have divine properties, such as healing powers. In ancient Greece, honey was often associated with immortality and was used in various rituals, including offerings to the gods and as a key ingredient in sacred foods. 6. Wine, ancient Greece and Rome. Wine held a significant place in ancient Greek and Roman culture, both as a daily beverage and a sacred offering. In ancient Greece, wine was associated with Dionysus, the god of wine, fertility, and revelry. Roman rituals and ceremonies often included wine as a central offering, used to honor the gods and mark significant events, from triumphs to weddings. 7. Cacao, Aztecs and Mayans. The Aztecs and Mayans held cacao in the highest regard. For the Aztecs, cacao beans were considered a divine gift from the god Quetzalcoatl and were even used as currency. Chocolate drinks made from cacao were reserved for the elite and were often consumed during religious ceremonies, believed to provide strength and vitality. Cacao was also used in offerings to gods to ensure the prosperity of the community. 8. Fish, ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. In ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, fish was considered a sacred food linked to fertility and abundance. Fish were often depicted in art and offered as sacrifices to gods to ensure bountiful harvests and the health of the people. In some Mesopotamian cultures, fish was associated with the god Enki, the deity of water and creation, and was often used in rituals and feasts. 9. Lotus, ancient Egypt and India. The lotus flower had deep spiritual significance in ancient Egypt and India. It was associated with rebirth, creation, and the sun. In ancient Egypt, the lotus was connected to the sun god Ra, and the flower was often featured in religious art and offered during ceremonies. In India, the lotus represents purity and enlightenment in Hinduism and Buddhism, and the seeds and flowers were used in offerings and rituals. 10. Barley, ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt. Barley was one of the first domesticated grains and was sacred in both ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt. In Mesopotamian culture, barley was considered a gift from the gods and was used in offerings. The Egyptians also valued barley, using it as a primary ingredient in bread and beer, both of which had religious significance. Barley was often associated with fertility and the afterlife, as it was thought to sustain both the living and the dead. These foods, revered by ancient cultures, represent more than just nourishment. They are symbols of life, prosperity, and divine favor. Through rituals and offerings, they connected people with their gods, ensuring that the balance of nature and society would continue. Even today, some of these foods continue to hold spiritual significance, reminding us of their ancient sacred roots.